This is Abel from the KC Soccer Journal with me, David Lee, sitting across the table. I just set up really quickly, so hopefully everything's working. David, how are you today?
Good, thank you. Excited for the home opener.
You just got your big press conference on Media Day. How was that?
All good, yeah, really excited. It's always good to get to chat to the media. Doing it a lot more here than I did in New York. But it's all good. I think everyone's excited for Saturday.
It's got to be good because you have more attention here, I think, than you did in New York, right?
There's certainly a lot of, I would say, media, local market relevance. New York's a huge city, lots of teams, lots of people fighting for space, and Sporting Kansas City is extremely relevant and in Kansas City, and that's been built over a long period of time and a lot of success, and I'm very fortunate to be part of it.
How has this new job been for you? I mean, you had to know it was going to be a challenge coming in, but how do you feel it's been going?
If I was going to score on a scale of 1 to 10, I'd probably say a 5 or a 6. There's things I'm really happy with. I love the job. I love the people. All the things that I was really confident in taking the role, I was extremely excited by, and I think all those things are delivered. The city, the ownership, everything has been fantastic. It's been challenges, I think I'd like it to have moved faster. I think anytime you come into a new organization, just takes time to uncover the layers of decisions and processes and these things, and you don't learn all of those in 2 weeks. And I had 2 weeks before the last game of the season, so I got to see, I think, 8 or 9 days of training. So now there's a lot more coming to the surface, but I would liked it to move faster than it has, but we are where we are, and we just have to keep attacking each day as it comes, because we're making good progress, and I can see that behind the scenes, and that if we keep compounding good days after good days, then we'll get to where we want to be.
No, I never want to put words in your mouth, but I know how bare bones this organization was before you came into it. Scouts, hardly any scouts, analysts, any of that sort of thing. Has that been one of the biggest challenges for you to make that progress that you would have maybe hoped to have made?
Yeah, so it was one of the things I knew coming in, that is for sure. I do think that is an area of immense opportunity. I also think it's part of the reason why I wanted to come and take the job, because you had a little bit of a blank slate to be able to make the impact in those areas and build departments that probably you don't get to in many other clubs because they are more established. It's definitely hurt our ability to move as quickly as we like, and also just getting the people that we do have adjusted to me and how I want to make decisions and the standards and the levels that I expect. So there are areas of opportunity. They have had an impact on where we are now, but like I say, I see more opportunity for how we're going to develop and grow those areas and what we will become, even if it's not exactly where we want it to be right now.
And I know we've talked before, but you've said that you probably will get in another 2, 3, maybe 6 even players before the window closes. I don't want to put any expectations on you. Are any of them really close?
There's definitely players close, but nothing that I can exclusively tell you. But there's a few that are close.
Okay, I didn't expect you to exclusively tell me. I was just trying to get the optimism for the fans, because I think you have been in sports enough that you understand fans are not necessarily happy with the roster at this point. Do you hear that?
I purposely stay away from most media for my own sanity and,
I don't blame you.
Mental health. I have a very clear idea of where I see the roster, and I can understand why fans would be concerned and would want more improvements. That's no different than me. It's no different than Rafa. The most important thing is that we make good decisions. That is critical right now. The last thing that we can do is to acquire players that we end up on 2, 3, 4 year contracts, and they're players that don't have the level of impact, and then you can't move them in MLS. All that does is continue the cycle that unfortunately Sporting Kansas City had been on prior to my arrival, and we, I get the benefit of coming into an opportunity where there's more flexibility in the roster, and it's my job as a steward to make sure that we make as many good decisions. I would be lying if I sat here and said I think I'll bat 1,000 on all the decisions we're going to make, but we have to try and make as good decisions as we can, and that is how we will build the roster to get to the level it needs to be, and that's moving slightly slower than I hoped, but I'm excited by where we're going and the players that we have been able to add, and the ones that we believe are in the pipeline to be able to bring in as well.
All right, so I'm going to put you on a couple of spots here maybe. The players that might be coming in, probably coming in, and we don't. Does this team make the playoffs this year?
I think we will be competitive to be in the playoffs. Yes, I do. I believe we have improvements to make and we have to develop. But yes, I think we can be competitive to be in the playoffs. I think, I watched most of the MLS games this weekend. It's game one of the season. I remember watching Nashville last year and they lost game one. I forget what the score was, but they had a fantastic season. So game one doesn't define a season. 99 more points on the table the rest of the way. So, I believe we can be competitive. We need to add players, for sure, that will help reduce the margin of error for us to be as competitive as we want to do. But we also need to continue the work that we've been doing to develop and grow the group of players that we do have.
I know when you were first hired, you talked about the style of play you wanted. Coach Wiki, how has that progressed? Like, has he been implementing what you expected him to do?
Yes, absolutely. I've been super, super impressed from day one of preseason, from the very first game we played. You saw a style and identity in the team that I think is clear of what we're trying to do. I don't want to compare to prior years because I wasn't here, but all I can say is through my conversations with Rafa through the interview process, we were really aligned on what we wanted to see from the team in terms of style and tactical identity, and we saw those things. Now, we need to improve. Also, there's still areas that we need to improve and we need to be more consistent in. But in terms of how we want to build up play, how we want to control possession, how we want to control tempo, the intensity out of possession, I think all of those things have seen really positive signs throughout preseason, and we saw elements and moments of that in San Jose, probably without being as threatening as we would have liked to be in front of goal.
Yeah, that first 39 minutes or whatever the number was really pretty good. Just a lot of good ball movement. I was very impressed, very happy with that. The change after that, things a little struggle with that. But as you bring in players, that'll improve, right?
I think it will improve whether we bring in players or not. I think the reality is, there's a lot of a new group adapting to a new coach. Those things are not super simple, and particularly I think in Kansas City where there's been one coach or two with Kerry for 15 plus years. When you've got a group of players that have only known one way of doing things, and that's not just tactically, that's how we act in preseason, what we do in all those areas. There's a lot for the players that have been here for a while to adjust to. So those things aren't going to happen overnight. I think I've been impressed with how the players are adapting. But yeah, and then adding new players can supercharge the identity as well, and we believe that will happen also.
Since we had talked previously, Daniel Shalhoub was transferred to Toronto. It sounds like a good return for his value, at least at this point in his career. Just how easy was that decision to make? Because what went into that decision, I guess?
Yeah, not easy. I think any decision when you're moving on from any player, and even though I haven't been here a long time, I have a great amount of respect for players that give the amount of service that Daniel did to a football club is not easy. And so there was a lot of debate whether what we should do. Ultimately, in the end, I think that for a player that was in the last year of his contract, we had to think about what was right for the medium long term of the club. And Daniel was our highest paid player outside of our DPs, so in the salary cap. And going into the last year of his contract, you're forced with a decision. And Daniel would help our team. There's no question about that. But my job is to think, slightly more medium long term as well in certain decisions. And that was one where I felt like when we got to the offer that Toronto ended up putting on the table, it felt like it was a decision that we had to make. And then in speaking to Daniel also, that one that he was excited to make, and I believe it ended up in a win-win all round, despite how challenging it is to say goodbye to a player who's meant a lot to this club and this community.
All right, one last one for you, because I know you're really busy today. I know since you've been signed, you've been doing a lot of things, traveling probably in Europe, looking for players, and then at preseason, and then at the game. How much time have you got to learn Kansas City itself?
Very, very little so far. I think this is the first time in at least 6 weeks I've had, I think, more than 2 nights at home now consecutively. I think we're looking forward to, I think everybody, including players, looking forward to just having a couple of weeks here and getting settled again. We went out to San Jose early because we thought the weather wasn't going to be great, and turned out the weather was great in Kansas City and we didn't need to go to San Jose early to train. So I think we're excited to get here and be here, and then I get probably, if I'm honest, I'm probably not going to have a huge amount of time to really get to know Kansas City until window closes, and probably when window closes, the mind will shift to preparation for the next window and doing all the other things that I need to do behind the scenes. But just physically being here is going to hopefully make things easier for me to get to know the city better.
Do you need any restaurant recommendations?
I always need restaurant recommendations, and so it was one of my first questions to all the staff was give me restaurant recommendations. I've got a running list.
What kind of food do you like?
Italian will probably be a favorite, but I'm pretty open.
I appreciate the time.
Thanks, Ted.
Got me drinking. My football team's got me drinking. Give me beer, whiskey, wine, or gin.